Hi, I'm Dan Danford. This is another episode of Money Made Easy for dadsdivorce.com. We have a great question from a viewer of the website. Do you have financial tips for someone considering starting a small business? I have a great idea and I'm excited about getting started, but I'm very nervous about all the startup costs and having enough money to last until I can start turning a profit. I love this. First of all, being nervous is a good thing, okay? It keeps us focused. I think anybody who has a business will tell you that a certain amount of those nerves are just common and they're going to be there all along. I have kind of a funny story. Many years ago, I served on a board down in Tulsa, Oklahoma with a man named Chester Cadjo. And Chester, wonderful man, but he basically started the Quick Trip organization. And for any of you who are, Midwesterners, you know that Quick Trip is a gas station convenience store that is on nearly every corner in the Midwest. Okay, so a very large corporation. He's a very successful man. And in one of the meetings, when I came in, one of the other people there said, "Hey, Chester, did you hear that Dan started his own business?" And Chester looked across the room at me and smiled, and he said, "Don't worry, Dan, the first 40 years are the toughest." And 13, 14 years into my business, I still get a chuckle out of that, because what he was basically saying was, it's always a challenge. And genuinely it is. Now, it's a fun challenge, and it's something that I suggest to people all the time, because in addition to the challenge, it's also rewarding. I mean, there's that feeling every day or every quarter that, hey, we just did something that was pretty neat. We provided services to people. They paid us for them. We paid our help. Hopefully there was some profit left over at the end. I mean, it's very rewarding in addition to being challenging. The big question that I always ask people when I work with students and things like that, and this is something you really have to answer in your own heart, okay? And that is, does my idea have broad appeal? Okay? And I just can't tell you how many times I've seen people blow it on this question. The bottom line is, one of the flaws that most of us have personality-wise is we assume that other people are like us. Okay? So if we like something, we assume everybody else likes it as well. Now, for some of us, that's more common than others. Okay? The key question for business is it something I want to do, or is it something that people are willing to pay for? And it really is a critical question. Let me give you another example. Say I've got this wonderful idea for a very specialized product or a very specialized service. Okay? And maybe in my heart of hearts, I know that 2% of the population would be interested in what I'm doing. Okay? Now, 2% of the population is a lot of folks if you're in Los Angeles or New York City or even Chicago or Houston. Okay? So your idea that appeals to 2% of the population might do great in one of those locations. But 2% of my hometown, St. Joseph, Missouri, is only about 12 or 13 or 1,400 people. Okay? So start doing the numbers. How much does each one of those 12 or 1,400 people have to spend in my store per year for me not only to keep the doors open, but to pay myself and make a profit? And so I just want to encourage you that is one of the questions that I think is fundamental to any business. Okay? So you have to ask your question, you have to answer that question for yourself. So assuming that your answer is yes, it does have broad appeal, then I've got a few things that I think make some sense. First of all is to write some sort of plan. Now, it doesn't have to be a 50-page document. It may just be a one-page document with bullet points. But the key to this is you're being deliberate in your planning. This is what my company is going to look like. Okay? Now, I wrote a business plan before I started Family Investment Center, It ran 12 or 15 pages, and it explained what I thought, what kind of clients we were going to serve, what our fees were going to look like, how much market I thought we could capture, all those kinds of things. Now, yours may not be that detailed, but I think it's very important that you ask yourself those questions and at least write down what you think the answers are, because that will help you evolve the company to what it needs to be. The second thing is to enlist professional help. Now, I run into this one all the time when I talk to people. Say, I do my own taxes. Or I talked to some folks yesterday, and he was asking about some estate planning issues. And I told him that, he needed to probably talk to an attorney. Well, he says, I downloaded some documents off the internet, and I'm going to use those. Okay, I'm not saying that that doesn't ever work. I'm just saying you're probably better off by actually sitting down with people who do this hundreds of times and enlisting their help. Okay? Truthfully, there are small business offices all across the country. I mean, there are parts of chambers of commerce or universities. There are people whose whole job is to help small businesses get started, and it's usually free. Okay? Go ask them. Say, here's my idea. Here's the piece of paper that tells you what I'm trying to do. Where are the holes? What is it that I need to do that I'm not getting written down here? Because not only will they help you, I mean, they'll love to help you. I mean, their ideas will be good ideas, and they're good ideas that will help you succeed rather than fail. I mean, every single one of us who started a business is going to find out that some things work and some things don't. The worst time to find out when something doesn't work is when you're starting the business. Okay? That's when you really need revenues, and that's when you need to preserve your capital, and that's all those things. That's a bad time to find out something isn't going to work. So run it by people who know ahead of time and get their insight into those issues. Okay, once you've done that, then implementation comes along. Okay, this is where you say, okay, I've got a plan, I've listened to professionals, we're ready to go. I'm going to go rent a space, I'm going to start ordering inventory, I'm going to hire workers. Okay, that's it. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're going to do what you said you were going to do. And then the fourth step, and I think this one maybe is the most crucial of all, that is to be ready and willing to adjust as you go. Okay, there isn't a single one of us in business whose business today matches the business plan they set up several years ago. Okay? That's not the nature of business. Business is dynamic. Okay? There are changes every day. There are changes in technology. There are changes in costs. There are changes in rules and regulations. There are changes in taxes. Okay? So your ability to survive as a small business person is tied to your ability to make those adjustments, and to make those adjustments before they cause you a problem. Okay? Honestly, business isn't rocket science. Okay? It's not so complicated that most people couldn't do it. Most people don't do it because of what you said in your question, which is, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I don't know. What I found out in talking to people is that most people who overcome that fear, most people who take the 4 steps actually do succeed. Okay? One of the ideas that I talk about all the time with people is the perception of risk is greater than the actual risk. We are risk-averse beings. You know, we try to avoid risks. But if you'll just take that little risk, if you just step out there, if you'll just do what you say you're going to do, my gut tells me that most people could be successful operating their own business. Okay, that's it for another episode of Money Made Easy for Dad's Divorce. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening.